All right. Rini, so excited to have you on Social Impact Power Chats.
Thank you for having me, Emily. It's been a long time coming.
Absolutely. I think we just said we've been trying to do this for about a year and a half. So we did it. If you take nothing else from this power chat, persevere, people, persevere. Amazing. Well, we'll be talking about a number of things today, including impact investment and the powerful lever that is impact investment. But before we get there, if you could share with us how you got into this world of social impact.
I came to social impact through kind of a circuitous route, but I suspect a lot of people do. When I went to college, I studied development economics at Berkeley. I really thought that I was going to immediately go into something related to microfinance, which was incredibly popular at the time. I was so inspired by Jacqueline Novogratz and the Acumen Fund. And so this was where I was headed, but I felt as though I needed to cut my teeth and really learn the business on Wall Street. So I went to work as a technology analyst at a hedge fund and ultimately stayed in the public markets as a hedge fund analyst and then ultimately a portfolio manager for nearly 15 years, and then went over to run a private investments for a very large single family office who had what was at the time called an impact lens.
Mm.
And it was there that I really got to explore the world of impact investing and fell in love with it and saw how powerful it could be when you're developing new companies, new technologies that not only um, have economic incentives and are profitable and are creating value, but are also doing good in this world. And that was really how I came to impact investing. It was there I also discovered this opportunity within food and agriculture, which is an incredibly large industry. It's 14% of global GDP, and it's also a third of greenhouse gas emissions, yet it was sort of underinvested in. So
Mm.
it was a question of whether or not it was uninvestable or it was an opportunity. And it felt like because of several tailwinds, this was the time where it was really an opportunity to disrupt food systems.
So, perfect segue into what you're doing today. Can you walk us through Rethink what you do there, what the raison d'etre of the organization is, and how you're taking on that question?
And so Rethink Food is an early stage impact venture fund that invests in technologies that are decarbonizing the food system and also bringing nutritional access. So it's a big mission, but it is also an incredible white space because the food system is something that is a mature industry, yet we we lose 30 to 40% of our food as food waste throughout the entire supply chain, whether it is on farm or in your kitchen. And there is really no other mature industry that would absorb 30 to 40% waste and be
Mm.
fine with it. So, but waste is how we could potentially feed the growing population. Um, it's also if what is that statistic? If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter in the world. So there are so many big problems and low hanging fruit that we think this next crop of entrepreneurs and technologists are solving now. And so Rethink Food is out there to support those founders. We bring expertise and capital. So I have, too many years of technology investment expertise. And then I partnered with Brad Jakeman, who was the president of global beverages at Pepsi. So incredible scale operating expertise. And then we have some remarkable luminaries that are not just on our board, but they're also LPs in our fund, and they include Indra Nooyi, who ran Pepsi for 14 years, Steve Ells, who founded and ran Chipotle, and Dean Banks, who was the CEO of Tyson, and before that, Google X. So we bring all of this smart capital to accelerate the growth of these new, young, disruptive companies that are trying to solve big problems.
Amazing. And, you live this every day. I just want to underscore what you're talking about in terms of, being additive. So when you're looking at a company, how do you think about benchmarking whether something's going to make a difference? And how do you kind of think through that impact question in terms of like, this is moving the needle?
Mm-hmm. I recently learned a great test, which is this founder described it as the Mr. Burns test. The idea being that if you have an impact company, and all of a sudden you can no longer run it, and it is run by Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, whose only goal in life was to make money, would he still run the organization with that goal of solely making money? Would the company still do good? And if it passes that test, we we think that that is an impact company. The idea being that profitable growth goes hand in hand with decarbonization or nutritional access, which are our pillars.
Well, and when you talk about the problems that you just named at the top of the call, the only way that they're going to get solved is if there's a market value for these, for these companies, right? Like it can't just be because people want it to be good. It has to actually make sense. Um, Amazing. Well, you had a few examples, specifically around precision farming and food as medicine. I'd love for you just to share some of the things that are exciting you in the portfolio right now or in this ecosystem right now.
Yeah. Well, there are some great kind of subsectors right now within the food system that are growing and that have the opportunity to really be disrupted because technology and innovation um, has driven change and yield improvements in the last 10 years that are disruptive to the existing structure of the business. Within farming, for example, the 60 to 80% of farming costs are input and labor. And yet, traditionally, farming is done without any regard to quantity and sometimes quality of input. So you've heard terms like crop dusting. There's no precision to crop dusting. So if you can measure and manage your inputs so that it is the perfect recipe to yield the greatest output, then you've saved on your cost, you've reduced the impact on the soil, and ultimately you're getting higher yields. How do we do this? We do this through machine vision. We do this through software and data analytics. And the farmer is suddenly enabled to be a 10x farmer. Another example that we're seeing incredible opportunity in is with automation of tractors. Labor is a huge problem on farms. We do not have enough labor, and labor is dangerous. It's hot. You get hurt. Even running a tractor is shockingly dangerous because you can run over stones and sticks and all of a sudden they spit back at you. And so you wear headgear when you operate a tractor. So if you can automate this with cameras and sensors that are taking in information and also steering, and you can run it 24/7, you've created tremendous efficiencies. And at the same time, you've made this dangerous job a safe job because now that person is inside remote monitoring instead of the one tractor he or she was driving, 10 tractors.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Thinking about feeding people and, what agriculture does for society and for humanity, I'm wondering if you can also speak to things around nutrition, health, wellness, and how you think about impact as it relates to the end product and the sort of downstream consumer.
So the food system is an incredible stressor on healthcare, because the most current data basically says that 1 in 6 people has multiple chronic disease that are diet related, and the cost of that healthcare burden on society is greater than the economic value that the food system creates. It is completely upside down, and the only reason it is like that is because incentives are completely misaligned. So if someone is selling you an incredibly unhealthy, diabetes inducing, sugary beverage, they're not taxed on the ultimate outcome to your health. So we're also investing in a category that we call food as medicine. And we have companies in our portfolio that are doing remarkable things like discovering all of the bioactives in nature. Before this, 99% of plants were undiscovered. And now, at the end of this year, 100% of bioactives in plants will be discovered, and we can actually connect that bioactive data to metabolic health studies and then bring to market naturals. We have naturals that can be therapeutics, naturals that can be fortifications in food, naturals that are going to help us be able to manage our gut biomes, which are basically the kind of filter between the external world and our bodies, which are basically the root source of a lot of inflammation and autoimmune disease. So the way I liken it is, when you go to your doctor, other than pharmaceuticals, one of the only things that your doctor will probably tell you to take is DHA omega-3 fish oil. We know it is a natural and it is a proven anti-inflammatory. But why are we only making discoveries like that once every 15 years? That company that identified that the compound in fish oil, which is DHA, is an anti-inflammatory, and you can also source that from algae much more inexpensively and sustainably, ultimately sold to DSM for $1.1 billion. There is a lot of value to be created, but these discoveries are only happening every decade and a half. And now through AI, we have ways of speeding up this cataloging and discovery process. So now we think we'll be able to find these, equivalent or greater bioactives in nature that will be able to support human health, human metabolic health, human disease.
Amazing. Well, this is a total softball question, but obviously, I am a full believer that impact investment matters and that it moves the needles on all sorts of things that we care about as society, as do you. What would you say to family offices or institutions or even, corporations that are trying to figure out how to bring impact investment into their investment portfolio and like do it for real and not like hypothetically? Like what's the strike up the band speech that you would share?
So firstly, I would say there's a misunderstanding that impact investing is concessionary, and that is absolutely not the case. We think that there is alpha to be generated from this impact, but for the sake of, the broad range of funds in this category, we say that they're market returns. So there should be no daylight between a regular fund investment and an impact fund investment from that perspective. The return profile should be the same. And then if you are looking at the world and saying, this is a world that is shifting toward decarbonization, this is a world that has already adopted solar and wind, and what is next, then you're just making a bet on what's to come in the future. Impact investing is a family office's or an endowments and foundations way of pursuing their missions and their goals without giving up anything in their portfolio. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, because um, it's not a donation. It's building a company that's ultimately going to change the world.
Amazing. Well, power chats are quick. I can't believe it, but we're already on our last question, which is the crystal ball question. Where do you see this work going? What are you looking for, in the future?
Well, firstly, I hope that in the future, as I said, there's no difference between impact investing and investing. I think that investing in technologies that are decarbonizing and that are bringing health should just be the future of biotech and software and data and AI. So I think the future is just investing broadly across this category. The future for Rethink Food is that, we are closing out our first fund and we're really excited to move on. And we think the next fund will be similar early stage, but ultimately we'd like to build this franchise to be able to follow our companies as they grow into later stage companies and, see where it takes us. We've been very lucky and fortunate with the talent that we've pulled together so far, and they're like magnets. So we just get more exciting interest from incredibly talented operators and investors because of the people we already have around the table. So hopefully that keeps growing with us. The team grows, the fund grows, the company grows.
Amazing. Well, your success is our globe's success. So I hope that you go from strength to strength. And it was so lovely to spend a few minutes power chatting. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Emily. It was a delight to chat with you.